It's science, sports science from my shed. How do Force fans? Another episode of Shed Science coming at you. Dealing with intermediate programming. Okay, so we dealt with long-term programming last time. That was the overall training landscape you're putting yourself through. What does it look like? Your roadmap from point A to point B via Paris and Birmingham or wherever we said we were going. All right, your intermediate training is more concerned with an individual training block, or maybe a handful of training blocks together, but typically it's an individual training block or blocks that slot in together to get you from A to B. Okay, your long-term training was where are you, where do you want to go, and roughly what you want to do in the middle. Your intermediate training program is how is that middle going to be shaped? What is it going to look like? What are the months and weeks going to look like? What are you going to achieve during those months and weeks? But also, what are your training sessions going to look like? Okay. Now, typically, intermediate or individual blocks tend to be 4 to 6 weeks. Now, that's very individual to you, to your goals, to your performance, to your sport, to your event, to whatever it is you're trying to do, and also the overall time scale you've got to do it in. If you've only got 6 weeks to make a change for something, then you've only got 6 weeks. An intermediate block can't be 6 weeks because that's your entire training block. All right, but typically we try and aim for an overall training roadmap, a training landscape to be weeks and weeks and months on end, so that an individual block can be 4 to 6 weeks, because that's roughly how long it takes to see an improvement of a sizable nature. All right. Why do we bother designing an intermediate? Why do we bother designing blocks? Why do we bother designing weeks of training? Well, it's so that you can chunk your overall goal into manageable progressions. Okay, 3 really important words in there. Progression is one of them. Let's face it, we're trying to progress. We're trying to get better at something. We're trying to achieve something that needs us to be better and needs us to progress from where we are. So progression is massive, and your intermediate block is hugely concerned with how you progress from where you are now to the next stage. Okay, how do you get upper level and keep stepping towards your overall aim? Well, you do that by chunking your goals into manageable blocks. Okay, there's the other 2 important words. You organize your training schedule so that these manageable steps are put in an order and in a sequence and in a schedule that gives you the best chance of success. Okay, now to do that, you need to consider a huge amount of variables that extend past what you do in the gym and how you're going to train. Okay, now I'll talk about some of them in a second. What I've done is I've split this into a training block and a training week. Now there's X number of weeks within a training block. Okay, so your intermediate training program concerns itself with a wider block, but also what the weeks will look like. So the week is kind of the sequence within slots of your training block. Okay, it'll become clear in a second. Right, your training block, what is it and what does it look like? Well, your training block is a group of small progressions that are clumped together to help you reach an overall target. Okay, it's the next step in a long line of steps that will get you to your target. Okay, it's the bottom 3 stairs along a staircase up to the goal at the top. All right, essentially each training block should build on the last block and stack on the last block, so it'll be a progression of the last training block, but also prepare you and get you to a performance output that is ready for the next block. Okay, there shouldn't be any gaps between training blocks in terms of what you can do in terms of your output, your performance. Now, for a training block, you need to consider what you need to be able to do by the end of the block. So you'll chunk your goal into steps, into progressions, but also the inputs to that block as well as the outputs. Now, inputs aren't just what equipment you have, what gym are you training at, and when are you going your nutrition, or you as a person. They're also work, family life. Have you got any competitions or events in amongst that training setup? Battery's dying. Have you got any competitions or events in amongst there? And do you have any injuries that are going to slow you down? Do you have anything that's going to mean you need to take a segue to come back to your training? Okay, so there's a massive amount to consider. Basically, to group that together so you've got an idea of what needs to go into this, what is going to affect your ability to train during that block. Okay, is there anything that's going to decrease your chance of success? Okay, is there anything that needs to be altered, changed, adjusted, considered, thought about, planned for, that's going to alter your chance of success during that training block? If there is, think about it, find a way around it. Okay, your overall training block is done. How are you going to organise your weeks within that training block? Well, this concerns itself with your actual sessions, okay? What are the aims of each session, and what are the impacts each session is going to have on you? Okay, those two things together will give you the order weekly of when your sessions should be placed. Okay, now the biggest thing I always consider is fatigue. How fresh do you need to be to get the most out of a given session? If you're looking to lose some weight, or you're looking to improve your fitness, do you really need to be that fresh to get the most out of your session? Not really, because if you're slightly fatigued, that's probably going to increase your body's drive to improve in terms of fitness, but it's also going to increase your body's fight or flight mode and stress in terms of losing weight. Okay, it's going to drive your body's thirst to get some energy from somewhere. And hopefully that'll come from some fat stores if you're looking to lose weight, okay? However, if you're looking to improve your strength, then yeah, ideally you need to be fresher. So you need to order your sessions in a way that allow you to get the most out of those sessions. Fatigue is massive. If you're going into a session fatigued, are you really going to get the most out of it? If the answer is no, move that session to a day when you can be a little bit more rested. All right. Are you going to organise your sessions so that they're going to interrupt the other sessions? If they are, and that's not the end of the world, it's not going to affect your output, your success from those sessions, then crack on. But if the order of those sessions is going to interrupt the other sessions, if one session is going to stop the next session being successful, then change it, reorder that week. Okay? Balance fatigue and maximise the benefit of those sessions in a chain of sessions across the week. Okay, now one training week doesn't have to be 7 days. However, typically people follow 7 days because, let's face it, that's our life pattern. 5 days in work, 2 days off. People tend to work around work. Okay, so again, that considers how fatigued you are from work, how much sleep you get. All these factors work together to help you design your training week. As with everything else, if this has given you some insight and you want to know more, drop us a message. Ask us a few questions. When we're designing training programs for you, ask us why. Ask us why we're advising you to get more sleep. Ask us why we're advising you to train fresh. Why we're saying you should probably cut out that BST, or maybe not run before your strength session. Ask us these questions. We're always looking to show off how clever we are, really. That's the long and short of it, but we're always looking to help, all right? We want people to understand why we do what we do, hence Shed Science. All right, guys? Hope you're enjoying these. Hope you're getting something from them. Give us a shout if you've got any questions. Enjoy. See you soon.
Shed Science, sports science from my shed.